Welcome back to the Freedom Kickstarter channel. So another episode with a very talented copywriter coming to you today. As always, I shall let the guests introduce themselves and then we'll get into it. So yes, we have John Holt with us today. And John, tell us a bit about yourself and what you do.
Well, I'm a copywriter, but up until like COVID, I was a magician and comedian. So bit of a weird transition into that, bit of a forced transition into that. So yeah, that's basically what I do now. And I've worked for some pretty big names like on an agency basis. So not really freelancery, more full-timey. So I've worked with Chris Orzakowski, No Pants Project, and Jeff Walker, where I still work. And yeah, that's what I do basically.
Nice. So that's kind of the reason why I wanted to have you on really, is because I think I hate the cliche word of journey, but your journey has been quite interesting to watch, I think. And so I can't say that I know any other people who've gone from comedian slash magician to copywriter, but I thought it'd be interesting to break down the key stages of that and kind of talk about why and how you made the transition to copywriting really. So what was it initially, if we go back pre-COVID, sort of 2018, 19-ish, what was it that got you interested in copywriting in the first place? Or was it even before that? Like, what's the story there?
Well, so as a magician, I'm doing like entertaining drunk people at parties. And I was so sick of going to like BNI meetings, networking meetings, that kind of stuff. And I noticed at the time that a lot of magicians, all their copy was pretty much similar. Like you'd see the word unique blend of magic and comedy so many times. And I kind of was looking for something to do away from magic because I didn't want to be traveling all over for the rest of my life. And I got into copywriting and I thought, oh, excellent. I can market myself. I can get gigs by staying at home without having to get up at 6 o'clock in the morning and withstand a breakfast and a 2-minute pitch. So I kind of got into that really. And then COVID happened and all my gigs magically vanished. And yeah, I just kind of had the idea. I thought the more I got into copywriting, I took Freedom Kickstart. I think I was probably in the second time you did it. And I took Freedom Kickstart. I was learning it. I secretly had the idea. I wonder if I could do this. A bit like I had with magic and comedy. Could I do this and get paid for it? And then COVID happened and it kind of forced my hand. It kind of made me think, oh, why don't I just give it a go? And so, yeah, it started out as just something to help me get magic gigs. But then I realised, actually, I don't have to be in Reading at 7:32 on a Friday night wearing a posh suit doing card tricks. I can sit in my underpants writing copy. So it was a bit of a transition into there. Just COVID kind of forced my hand, essentially. And I thought, let's go.
Nice, like it. So in terms of the magic stuff then, was that like a career you'd always wanted to do? Had you fallen into that? What was where were you at with the magic?
Where was I at with the magic? You see, I always make stuff like really hard on myself. I will do something just to see if I can do it. So magic, right? I kind of pride myself on being a little bit funny. And with magic, it was like, could I do this? There's always this element of, could I just walk into a room, 100 people, introduce myself, make them laugh and go home? That's all I wanted to do. So I had no real desire to be like a TV magician or anything like that. I genuinely just loved the interaction of connecting with people. Same with comedy. It was the same kind of, okay, I know I can make people laugh with magic tricks. How about if I don't have magic tricks? How about if I stand on a stage, can I make them laugh then? It was that kind of skill behind it. And same with copywriting. It's like, can I communicate an idea to somebody and get them to take action? So yeah, it was just, I'm not a natural performer. I get really nervous, and after gigs, I would come home like caked in sweat, going, oh, thank God. And every gig, I would travel up the M6 towards the gig, thinking about the pasty I could have on the way home, going, oh, that's my treat. But I was good, but it wasn't a natural thing for me. So copywriting kind of fits that a bit better.
Was it a lifestyle thing as well? As in, I'm guessing, I think you might have even told me in the message for about like when you want to be at home with family, sort of Christmas and that kind of thing, it's your busiest time work-wise. I'm guessing evening, weekends, that kind of stuff.
Yeah, it's somebody said to me when I first started in magic, he said it's all fun and games when you're performing magic when you want to do it, but it's a different thing when it's Monday night. You've had an argument with the wife that you can't afford to go out and this and this and this, and you've got to be funny for 2 hours. And yeah, exactly that. Christmas, like we would just block off December for my calendar. My wife would just assume I wasn't going to be there, and it's hard because you have to Not that I'm physically fit or healthy anyway, but it's like if you're out of action, then that's literally maybe as much as a third of your like annual income, maybe a quarter, maybe that's overstating it a bit, but it's a sizable chunk, and it ramps up the pressure on that time for money thing and being in a certain space at a certain time even more. And often what would happen in January, and a lot of performers get this, is like that's when you get wiped out, like your body just crashes. So yeah, for me it was more a case of the novelty of driving to gigs and being a magician wore off, and it was like I kind of want to be at home. I've got 2 kids, I want to spend time with them. Yeah, it was more about that.
Yeah, I think for me it's kind of probably similar in a way to when I was a personal trainer, in that in theory you're in charge of your own hours, and in theory you set your own rates and all that kind of stuff. In reality, actually, when do most people want to train? Well, it's normally after work. It's at weekends, all right, normally weekend mornings, but it's still weekends. And maybe not so much Christmas, but certainly summer was fairly busy, January's fairly busy. And it's kind of that thing where I think you're told, oh, work for yourself and you'll never work a day in your life. And actually, no, it's still work. And a lot of the time you think, do you know what, I'd kind of rather be in a 9 to 5 sometimes. So
Yeah, and there's a lot of outside factors as well. You know, like COVID happens and suddenly you lose all your gigs, and if all this kind of stuff. It was like there were a lot of elements that I didn't feel were in my control, and plus the fact it wasn't a great fit for me. I liked coming up with the ideas and the hooks and the angles for magic tricks more than the actual performing of them, to be honest with you. So, yeah, copywriting seemed a more natural direction to kind of head into.
gotcha. So fast forward then, 2019, would it have been 2020? You got into copywriting initially?
Yeah, probably, yeah.
So what was that like then? Was it a case of just saw something randomly on social media? Had you been studying it a bit? I know you said about learning it for your magic business, but what was the score with that?
You know what? I can't actually remember. I remember the first book I got was the Joe Sugarman one, Advertising Copywriting Handbook. And I think it might have been one of the business groups online. Somebody had recommended that as a first point. And then I think your name came up. And I thought, actually, I really want to get into this, because the Sugarman book was a really good one for me to get, because he had loads of interesting adverts in there. Like he had the burglar alarm that looked ugly, and he spent the first paragraphs of the sales page going through that. And I like that kind of. I'm not a big template guy. In fact, I'll probably just zag just for the hell that others are zigging, even when it's not required. So I always like doing the stuff that other people aren't doing. So that book really appealed to me, and I really saw it as kind of like stand-up is carte blanche. You get 10 minutes, do what you like. Fair enough. With copywriting, that began to kind of open the door to, oh, you could be really creative with this, how you talk about stuff. There's a process here that I could get behind. And I think your name must have come up with Freedom Kickstarter. And I know I badgered you with so many questions, because I was one of those people that's like, I can learn for free online. I can learn for free online. The answer to everything is online somewhere. And I saw Freedom Kickstarter. I didn't tell my wife I'd bought it. But before it, I know I was badgering you with loads of questions. You must have thought, like, this guy, how close were you to blocking me?
To be honest, I remember names of annoying people, and I don't remember your name. So it's probably,
oh, wow, okay,
in the hierarchy of annoyance, probably quite low down to us. I think the difference is, I think I could always tell that you're fairly genuine about it, and
yeah,
it was more questions to make an informed purchase, I guess, rather than questions for the sake of questions, I suppose. I don't know if that's fair, but that certainly seemed like it was like that way to me.
Yeah, I think like most people, I'm looking for the answer. Like, is this the magic bullet? Is this the one thing that's going to cure all my life problems in one fell swoop? And no, you were quite honest about, no, you're going to have to work at this, and this is going to happen, and this is going to happen, but I can't do it for you. So it was a great course to get into, really, because it gave the structure and also the freedom for me to see how can I do this rather than do this prescriptive thing. So yeah,
I think it's interesting what you say about templates and the fact you're not really a template guy, because whenever I read stuff that you've written, I sort of get the sense that, I wouldn't say it comes naturally, but I feel like you're much more about messaging and positioning rather than I'm going to follow this line, this line, this line. Is that something that, do you feel it comes naturally to you? I mean, is your a kind of life experience, so to speak, had a hand in that and dealing with people?
I don't know. I think I learned with magic and comedy is it's like there's a feel of the performance. Like, it's not necessarily a line that's going to do it. Like, you can create a great comedy line or a great flow of a trick, but I think this is true for copy as well. It's like there's more of a feel you get. Like, occasionally I'll write a sentence that doesn't make sense grammatically, or you may look at it and go, your English teacher would look at it and go, oh, that's a bit weird. But there's something about it that, like, when people say I've got you, it's like, it's a feel of stuff. And I think comedy has that. There's an emotion behind it, an energy behind it. Same with magic. It's like, I think one of the things I got really well from magic, somebody told me to kind of have this attitude, was people are really resistant because they think you're going to be a show off, or you're going to show them up, or if you're going for a couple, you're going to make the guy look stupid. And it's like, my whole attitude with magic was, I'm just a guy who's learned some things. I want to share them with you. And it's the energy behind it that I think really counts a lot more. And I think about that with copy. It's like, what is the energy for this message? How do I want to be with this? And I think I pay more attention to that a lot more than the specific word. I think a lot of people think, oh, what's the magic phrase? How do you close this email? What's the magic? And I still get caught into that. Like, I'll find myself going, should I use struggle or hassle here? And it's like, it's more about when you read it, what's the kind of vibe you're getting from it. So I think magic and comedy definitely help with that. Yeah.
What's interesting is I think most people make that distinction after like 3, 4, 5 years of writing, when they go, oh, there isn't the magic phrase to get people to buy, or oh, the perfect opening line doesn't actually exist. But it seemed like you got that from fairly early on. So yeah, like I said, I don't know if that was natural. I'd imagine that I'll often say to people, look, if you've got other life experience doing certain things, like hospitality is a great one. If you've worked in hospitality, you'll probably be quite a good copywriter, because you're used to putting up with bullshit from people. You're used to having to say stuff to make people feel better about themselves and about an experience. Even if you're not actually selling, you're a very good salesperson, because you're having to sell them on, oh no, you didn't have a terrible time in our hotel, you absolutely loved it. And so I guess maybe there is that crossover. I remember sort of you saying about dealing with drunk people and that kind of thing. I suppose it's, yeah, there is carryover there to a degree.
Yeah. I mean, I blagged this with one of the interviews I went on. I stupidly said the line, instantly regretted it. Like, oh, I was trying to convince them that I'd be a good copywriter. And I said, oh, copy's a lot like magic. I was just thinking, please don't ask me to explain that. Please don't ask me to explain that.
Just crossing off my question list.
Yeah. And he said to me, go on. And I thought, oh, God, this is the moment where I lose it. But I said, essentially, if I'm doing close-up magic, I'm walking up to a table, cold audience, I'm getting their attention, I'm trying to communicate a message or an idea, why they should believe in this trick, why they should pay attention to me. And at the end, I'm asking for a call to action. Applaud, fill me with joy, make my life worthwhile. That's the craving I tend. And then move on. And he kind of went, okay. Like, it was more a kind of, I'll let that one slide. Well done, well recovered. But there is that element to it. You're going out, you're meeting people, different people every single night. And to be successful as a magician, not that I'm a great example of this, but it's like you've got to kind of get on their wavelength and communicate to them. And it's the first thing, you're learning copywriting about customers, audience, what's in it for them, all this kind of stuff. So, yeah, I think magic and comedy, I didn't realize it at the time. But you're right. My daughter works in hospitality. And I say, that will always stand you in good stead. All kind of emotions you're dealing with, happy, drunks, all this kind of stuff. It's like it all goes in. And it's like when you're thinking about a last call email or an open cart email, it's like it's all like you can imagine how it flows. Yeah.
Well, it's relationships as well, I guess, in terms of if you've got a great relationship with a list, let's say, you can almost put out something going, oh, I've got this thing, do you want to buy it? And people will go, yeah, I'll buy that. I trust you, I like you, have some of my money. Obviously, there's a limit to that, but you can have that. Whereas if you've got no relationship with people, you're relying very much on the physical stuff. So the value stacks, the offers, the discounts, that kind of thing. And I guess maybe from a client standpoint as well, whereby if you don't have a brilliant relationship with the client, then you mess up. That could be the end of that working relationship. Whereas you can kind of get away with the odd campaign not doing as well as it should do. Or, I mean, no copywriter is ever 100% successful. So if you have some failures and you've got a good relationship with the client, then chalk it down as just one of those things, really.
Yeah, and I think that's one of the things that when I started, I really wanted to have that kind of, I wanted to be okay to deal with. I think I got really fortunate in that I think Ben Settle, I think it was, emailed his list right before I applied for a few agency jobs, saying that you only need 3 things to be a good agency copywriter. Do good work, deliver it on time, and be easy to deal with. And his kicker was that if you can't do one of those 3, but can do the other 2, you'll probably be okay. And I thought, it's a really low bar, but I found that that kind of human relationship. Like, I don't want to be the person that people don't want to approach. And in fact, it's been mentioned a couple of times with a couple of clients that they've been surprised when people have critiqued my work in a group setting that I've been okay with it. But it has been that genuine kind of openness and curiosity about, okay, I know I can get better. Why would I not take advantage of this? But people have come up to me and said, wow, you know, not a lot of people would have been okay with that. And it didn't occur to me until afterwards. But again, it's the kind of stuff you get from doing magic in front of people. They'll tell you when it sucks. Drunk people on a Saturday night in a pub will not be shy about going, I saw you do that. That's crap.
Yes, I have no doubt about that. Tell us about the early gigs then, because I know a bit of the basics of the story as to how you got, I mean, you mentioned some very big names at the start of this. How did you go about landing that first gig? Because I think it was either that one or one of the early ones was quite a unique approach, I believe.
Well, I think they all were, really. So the 3 that I always mention are like Chris Orzakowski, No Pants Project, and where I am now, Jeff Walker. And yeah, I felt... So I think Orzy was asking for applications for copywriters at a certain point, and it was just a type form thing. And I had no right applying for it because it was like he was asking for experienced people. But I thought, oh, what the hell? Shoot it anyway. So I didn't put massive effort into the type form application. But a couple of weeks went past, and I thought, I'll just ask him. So I emailed him and said, how did you get on with that? And he said, we had like 90 odd applications or something like that. And I thought, oh, well, fair enough. And I remember, this is going to sound really dramatic, but it's how I actually remember it in my head. Was like, I remember shutting the laptop going, well, what am I going to do about that? And I didn't get to shut it. And the thought occurred to me, you wouldn't have so many applications if you weren't quite so successful. So I thought I'd email him back, giving him some suggestions on how he could appear less successful so that he could eliminate the problem of not having so many applicants. And I think it just included stuff like, it was just a really quick email. And I think I had 5 bullet points, one of which was, occasionally tell the story how your family are eating out of dumpsters because, it's the end of the month. Just subtly sow the seeds. So I did that, and I even created a sales page, a crappy sales page, which had how to dilapidate your life in 4 easy steps. It's just a gif of a very successful man going to a very unsuccessful man. I sent it off to him, and I went out. I came back, and in fact, you play a part in this story, which you might not remember. Went out for a walk, came back, and I had 2 emails waiting from him in my inbox. And I thought, oh God, I was too afraid to open them. And I thought one of them is going to be, and please never contact me again. The first one was, have you ever smoked marijuana? And then in brackets, serious question. And then the next email was, and can you jump on a call tomorrow? And I was ecstatic. And then it went, oh my God, I know nothing about this guy. So I actually messaged you I shot you a voice note and said, do you know anything about Chris Orzy? Is he a good guy to work with? And you went, yeah, he's a top dude. You'll really enjoy it there. So that was my first gig. I worked with him, and he's very kind. He said to me once, he said he thought I was a natural. I think that's really kind. I think more raw. There was something like a toddler with a nail gun. You might get a deck in your back garden, but you're going to need a lot of hand holding to get there. So yeah, I got working with him, and it was just that kind of hand-holdy kind of stuff, and we do sequences together, jump on calls, talk ideas. It was great. And I think that's one of the things I kind of got from magic and comedy is like I knew that the really serious learning was going to come from getting on stage, getting feedback, going home and thinking about it. So to have somebody like Chris work beside me, hand something to him, he'd give it me straight back and go, no, you need to change this. Here's why. Excellent. Just get me those reps in. And that was a great start for me. It was great.
I think that's a big thing, that it's the whole, I'm certainly not against learning and practicing and reading and stuff, but it's like if you want, let's say, a big squat in the gym, you're going to need to get under a barbell at some point. You can read about all the Russian periodization and the West Side Barber method and stuff. But if
Did you make any of those up? Are they real things?
They are actually real things.
Russian
yes.
periodization.
Yeah.
Okay, fair enough.
Yeah, so that's flashback to my very, very boring fitness days. But you sort of at some point need to step under the barbell. It's like you can't read your way to a 400-pound squat. I mean, I never trained my way to a 400-pound squat either. But it's that idea that learning and knowledge is good, but it's kind of being in the firing line is the only way you're actually going to get properly better.
Yeah, I spent years browsing like magic forums, reading books, looking for the perfect trick, waiting for the moment when I thought I'd be ready. And like, there's nothing that prepares you for going in front of drunk people on a Saturday night and going, watch this, and them telling you exactly what they think of it. Yeah, so I wish I'd done that sooner. And I think that's the thing with copy. It was like, right, I'm going in on this. Because I kind of waited so long as a magician, it was like, right, don't do that again. Yeah. That's not going to work.
Yeah, it's kind of like I was at an event a couple of weeks ago and got talking to a guy there who's a very successful copywriter now. And he said one of his first forays into copywriting was going to a seminar with Gary Halbert right before Gary Halbert died. And Gary Halbert asked for a volunteer to have their copy critiqued. And he said he volunteered himself. And he said he got absolutely torn a new one and just ripped to shreds. He was like 23 at the time or something. And said he just came out a quivering wreck, shaking, just absolutely terrible. But he said that made him then go, I never want to have that experience again. So I'm going to study, I'm going to work hard. And interestingly, he said a few years later, someone from that seminar came up to him and was like, oh, you're right, if you got any trauma after that, because it was that bad. But he said it could have gone one way or the other. He was either going to just give up copywriting for good, or he was going to go all in. But it actually made him go all in, I think, because you have to sometimes have that painful experience to go, yep, probably need to buck my ideas up a bit. Not saying that you had anything as bad as that, but yeah, same principle, I guess.
Yeah, definitely. I think also you've just got to. I think the only way you can kind of take the ego out of it as well, because we do get ego about copy and stuff, is just throw it out there and get feedback. And it's like, I was really grateful that all my gigs like that have been from people who are really good copywriters. So like Chris, Mike Shreve, and Jeff Walker, they're all exceptional copywriters. So it's not, if I was working for a business owner, they might just take my copy and run with it and I wouldn't get any better. So I was really grateful that I kind of made that decision to go with right, I want to work under somebody and they can say, this sucks, it's okay, here's one. So that was good.
I guess there's a line, because I've had copy critiqued by a client's wife before who had nothing to do with marketing, and that kind of feedback often does get your tail up a bit, but I think,
that's it, isn't it? It's like, we passed it round the office, and Gloria's got an English literature GCSE. She spotted what did Gramley throw up the other day? I put it on Facebook. It said the gerund of blah 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 caused a parallelism problem, and I was like, that is the least of my problems right now. Nobody's ever come back to me and said this gerund is all.
I think I'll be going to the doctors via the parallelisms problem or whatever it was.
I almost needed another plug-in just to tell me to explain that to a five-year-old level, please. I was like, oh my God. Yeah, and it's that kind of thing. It's like, but I don't mind if a copywriter, somebody I respect as a copywriter, looks at something and goes, this needs work, because I know where they're coming from. But to tell me I've split an infinitive or something like that, it's like, oh God, no.
Yeah, we are on the same page there.
Awesome.
So, got the gig with Chris. Talk to us about the other two big names that you work with then. So, Mike and Jeff.
So, I kind of use, they were both advertising for copywriters, but because they were both like high profile clients, I knew they would get a lot of applicants. I kind of did the same thing again with the No Pants project. I created a longer form sales page with a decent headline. And it was like, the hook of it was, I've visited you in 2 years from now. And the headline was something like, wow, look at all this amazing success I've had. And to think it all began on the day when I hired John Holt. To think I almost turned off that crappy sales page. Something like that. And basically all I did was kind of like, think of the reasons why they wouldn't want me for this gig and kind of answer them. I think that's kind of copyboarding now. But it was just a bare bones thing. And I think I definitely shot a video as well with COVID hair while walking my dog. Because, again, with the No Pants project, they had this idea of you'll do a lot of copy and you'll be working with people who really know copy. You'll get good really fast. And I really wanted to convey the idea that that was the thing that really turned me on about that job. I was like, oh yeah, because in 6 months I'll be way ahead of like, other people. So yeah, I sent the sales page in. I shot a video where I kind of talked about that Joe Sugarman ad about the ugly burglar alarm, and I said, oh, it just brings me so much joy that you can start a sales page talking about how crap your product is. And I thought, it's so good. And yeah, so I got the interview for that, and it began in the best way possible, and in a way that I thought I'd prepared for everything. Set up my nice little space, making sure I'm focused. Going to be meeting this guy on Zoom, and the interview begins with, I showed your video to the boss, Mike, and he said, I want that guy writing my emails. And I thought I wasn't ready for that opening. So yeah, I was one of the 2 or 3 writers they hired at that time. And that was great because that was funnel copy for lots of different projects. And it was feedback, do it, feedback, good it. The deadlines were really tight, which installed in me a kind of panic at the time. But it was like, it just made me get better and better, just those reps. And I think the thing I often forget is, the thing I really like about how I approached, aside from doing like a silly sales page and a silly video and email, was the fact I was able to point to stuff, because I was actually writing my own emails, daily emails at the time. I was making a series of videos of me sat on the toilet. And
John on the John was
Dear
going
John
to
on
be
the John,
yeah.
Crappiest series. I think only you liked that, but it was like, the magic reps kind of, I didn't really care. I genuinely didn't care how many people saw it, but what gave me a ton of confidence was having stuff to point people to and say, I don't have portfolios, I don't have samples, I don't have testimonials. This is what I've been doing. If that's and the great thing is, you're applying to copywriters, and of course they're all like, they're used to what's in it for me. So as long as they see something, they go, there might be something there. Let's give them a crack. That's really the way I kind of got the opening for that, really.
That's what I say to people a lot when they're saying, oh, I don't know how I'm going to get clients. I've got no portfolio. I've got no this, that, and the other. And it's like, well, yeah, that stuff can definitely help. And you probably should compile a portfolio at some stage. But ultimately, if you want to get good clients, people who sort of know good copy already. So if they see you've got something, they'll at least give you a chance. Like I use the example of, I think it was once Joe Schriefer when he was head of Agora. He said he hired a copywriter. Basically turned up to the office one day. There was a briefcase in the office addressed to him. And he was like, that's very weird. I don't know what that's for. Took it through to the office, like it was locked. About half an hour later, a FedEx guy turned up with an envelope that had a key for the briefcase in. He opened the briefcase. Inside was a prepaid cell phone and a note just saying, call this number. And he phoned the number, and it was a copywriter who said, basically, can I have some work? And Joe was like, well, if his idea for pitching me is that good, obviously, I don't care if his copy's terrible. I'm going to take a punt on him, give him some money to see what he can do. And that's what I love about your approach, is that, yeah, it takes longer than just firing off 50 cold emails, but it shows people who actually care about what they're doing, and you're willing to invest that time and energy up front to do something for them without necessarily having anything in return. Yeah,
and it wasn't even specifically for them. It was more like, I kind of thought, well, if I'm writing on essentially as an agency basis, their main goal is not to have, they want a creative person, but they don't want somebody who they give an email campaign to about garage doors, and then they come back on Friday and go, I know you said garage doors, but how about tutus? I've written this. They don't want that. They want to be able to trust that the person they hand the work to is going to do it, show up on time and do good work. So I thought, well, the best way I can do that is by actually doing it. So the opening thing on my page was, I'm getting up at 5 a.m. I'm emailing my last daily. I'm creating these things. I'm doing this. I thought, just show them. It's the same thing again. Copywriting, show, don't tell. But yeah, it's like you show them what you can do. It doesn't have to be a portfolio. Your entire approach shows them something about you.
Yeah.
Which I don't think I really appreciated at the time. I just thought it was funny. But it was like, actually, it gives them something, gives them a bit of you to see. And again, it comes down to that thing again about, oh, this guy's going to be easy to work with. This isn't going to be a nightmare to ask him to make a change. He's going to be like, he's not going to give me a lot of headaches, hopefully.
And also being fun to work with as well.
Yeah.
I found a big value for me is, do I actually like the people I'm working with? And could I have fun with them even when things are in the shit versus things are going great? So if someone doesn't like that approach, that for me is just a litmus test that, okay, maybe they're not the client for me. I'm not the copywriter for them. They're not the client for me.
Yeah, definitely. I think, like they say about good marketing, isn't it? It's turning off the people you don't want.
Mm.
And it's like, yeah, and if any of those had said, "Oh, I don't like this approach," yeah, I'm just going to be. We all have clients where I'm thinking about like magic gigs and comedy gigs where it's like you dread the 2 weeks before, you dread doing the gigs, you dread the 2 weeks after just in case they came back with you. It's like personality is a great way to filter out nightmare clients.
Mm-hmm. So, out of interest, have you ever put something like that together and just been completely ghosted or had a negative response?
I might have had negative responses. Nothing ultra negative. Like when I was a magician, I'd do like blanket cold emails, like less personalized approaches, like include funny pictures and stuff like that. So you and I are good friends with John Buchan, Charm Offensive. I'd use his kind of approach. Occasionally people wouldn't get that. But I think with copywriting, once I learned copywriting, I'd always now go for the targeted approach, show that I was really invested in them rather than, not like you're the one for me kind of thing, but I've done my homework. I want to work with you because of this. And here's why I give a shit about this. And it's like, yeah, I don't think you can go wrong with that because I think they would, it's like comedians. If you don't like a comedian and they're good, you can appreciate their talent and their skill at making jokes and you go, I hate their material. So if people don't like Frankie Boyle, they might say, oh, I hate his material. I hate the way he does this and talks about this. But I can see he's not just swearing.
Yeah.
He's skilled. Yeah.
How long would it typically take you to put something together for something of that type?
No. You see, the key thing is, and you can't overestimate this, how bad some of the things I design. I'm really bad at design. Yeah, you've seen my Canva stuff. I remember sending you stuff.
I was very impressed by the picture that you did for me with the BMW. I think I had sacks of cash and I was
Watches.
wearing Yeezy trainers. So I was
Yeah.
actually very impressed by that.
The skill is in being really bad at Photoshop and Canva and being okay with it.
Mhm.
I think it's the same with designing a web page. It's like it's a crappy, ugly sales page. It's not going to win an award. It's structured in a way that you go, oh, it flows. You can see the value in it. But again, it comes down to the fact that this is a guy who isn't taking himself too seriously. It's like, it's a crappy, ugly page.
Yeah.
And I'm okay with that. It's like, it's okay. So, yeah, I think it comes down to the energy as well. I could overthink it, and I could get to the stage where I'm like, well, what font should I use for this crappy, ugly page? But that's really not the needle mover. The needle mover is, I've written this page for you. Your name's in the URL. Your name's on the page. I'm not sending this out to hundreds of people. I'm going to pay attention to this. And I think it's that kind of same thing as a briefcase. In theory, you could send that to thousands of people. They're probably not. So, yeah, I think it's that people always appreciate the effort.
Yeah.
I think you've said that before about people who've written you emails and you never use them for like your fitness site, but you'd remember them and you just got positive thoughts about them.
Yeah, I certainly know that there's a guy who is quite well known now in copywriting, and he probably about 6 years ago emailed me some sample emails he'd written for me. Never used them because I used to like writing my own emails, but they were obviously not overly templated, if they were templated at all. He clearly read some of what I'd written, and I said to him, actually, I don't use these, but really impressed. Give him a shout out on Facebook. He messaged me a few months later saying I got a gig off that. So obviously that was a micro, portion of his journey and how he got started, but it's that kind of thing. If you can do that for a few people, you get 10 shout outs from people who are either a tiny bit further ahead of you or much higher up the chain. That can actually launch a whole career doing it.
Yeah, of course it can. It only takes like a small win, doesn't it? It doesn't take much.
Yeah.
I mean, people aren't looking for like to tie in for life. They're going, I think I can take a chance on this guy. And like you say, the fact that you shout out somebody knocks down a lot of walls for anybody who knows you or anybody else. It's like, oh, Mike's vouched for them. It's like same way as I did with Chris. It's like, what's this guy like to work with? He went, oh yeah, he's sound. And I went, excellent. I didn't phone 5 people. I didn't leave messages with a bunch of people. It was just you. And it's like, you get wins like that in the world. And it's like, it not cashes in, but it's like, it just puts the good stuff out there. It can't hurt.
Yeah. So what advice would you give to someone then who was where you were a few years ago? Because I speak to quite a few copywriters and they get the value of that approach, but they're also like, oh, I don't want to just spend, say, 2 hours reaching out to one person or even an hour reaching out to one person. We kind of covered it already, but are there any best tips you'd give, any best practices? Like, what would you do if you had limited time to do this?
If I had limited time, I think it doesn't have to be funny. It doesn't have to be anything. I think it's more about how would you do this? And the thing I really, I just try and make it as absolute fun as possible. Like, how would I do this? It's, what am I trying to say? Let's have a think. One thing that really gave me a lot of confidence when I was doing it was the fact I was emailing my list and doing stuff at the same time. And I think back now, how could I have done those kind of things? And it was like, made those approaches. How did I have the balls to do that, really? You know, email people like that, knowing that I could burn a bridge. And I think it was because I had the background of doing it over and over, emailing my list, creating a Google Drive of awesomeness, and just doing silly things and trying stuff. I think all that kind of displayed the qualities that I wanted them to see. So I think the mentality of what you just shared about the fact that this might not work, but nothing really bad's going to come of this. Something good might come of this. And it's like, if Mike gives me a shout on Facebook, if it doesn't lead to dollars in the account, that's not the only win here. You're doing stuff. And your approaches could become content. Here's what I'm trying. Here's what I'm practicing in public. Here's what I'm doing. But you kind of get better at putting yourself out there. And of course, you're communicating your offer. You're seeing what works, what doesn't. Yeah, I think that kind of approach about it's just a positive step forward, I think.
It's an interesting one because I actually, despite how much I love email lists, I sometimes put newer copywriters off having their own because I think it can be a distraction. But actually, that's a very good way of framing it in terms of, I suppose, yeah, you're getting real world testing experience. You're seeing what people respond to. And as you say, it's somewhere to direct people to. So, yeah, I think you might have, that sort of swayed my opinion on that perhaps slightly, I think.
Well, I think that's the thing. I didn't really have a portfolio, but all my emails were on my website, so they could just go and see them. I don't know if anybody ever saw the emails I wrote or the things I created or the videos of me sat on the toilet. I don't know, but it gave me a lot of confidence knowing that I was doing stuff, I was taking action. I think that's a big thing sometimes. The big fears I had about being a magician were that I hadn't actually performed for people. I was conjuring it up in my head, pardon the pun, of like what it was going to be like. And I was creating these dream scenarios, and reality was different than what was going on in my head. But with copywriting, it was like, because I was doing, I actually had the confidence. I was putting in the reps and doing that kind of thing. And I think that the end client might not be able to see that, but I think it just gives you a bit more confidence going through the process.
Yeah. I think we do need to talk a bit about your videos on the toilet, though, just to give people some extra context.
No, let's leave those.
Yeah. Was that a lockdown project from memory, or was it slightly after that?
Yeah, not psychiatric lockdown. It does sound like, it was a lockdown project. I have no idea. I was trying to think when I was coming over, I was thinking, did the name come first, or did the fact was there a point in my life when I thought, I'm going to sit on the toilet and make videos? Fully clothed, I was, obviously, as you know. I think it was just leaning into that kind of crappy, ugly sales page, make crappy, ugly videos that get my kind of personality across. It just, like magic and comedy, it was more the skill. Can I do a trick in front of people? Can I make people laugh? Can I shoot a crappy video that gets a reaction or communicates a point? I just thought it was kind of like a skill building thing. And plus it was fun. And like I say, whether you like videos of people sat on the toilet or not, I know you're a big fan, Mike. I've seen that OnlyFans subscription of yours. So many. Whether you're a fan of like people sat on the toilet making crappy videos, it's like you appreciate the work that's gone into it. And it's like, it was just crappy little marketing messages. And, I was talking to like very much a beginner copywriting level. So, and I think I'd still position myself as that now. It's like just one step ahead of the business owner who's wondering what to write on a landing page. One step ahead of the person who's thinking, I know I should email my list, but what the hell do I talk about? It was just that. And again, it's putting aside of the ego of what will copywriters think of this. Apart from you, obviously, I cared greatly. putting aside that ego and just going, is this genuinely useful? And yeah, and it's entertaining. It's a fun way of addressing it.
I think people lose sight of the fact that a lot of, or almost all of what you do for marketing can be fun anyway.
Yeah.
It's something that, over the years, I've certainly gone to like, numbers, and you need to grow and stuff. And you kind of do, but you can have fun at the same time. For me, it's like, not everything is going to work. Would I rather have a thing that doesn't go as planned and I'm taking it super seriously, or would I rather have that and go like, do you know what? I quite enjoyed that still. It's like, people say, oh, I need to email my list daily. Do you enjoy emailing your list? Not really. Don't do it daily then.
Well, it's that thing, isn't it? It's like, often we're taught the lifestyle. You do a launch, you earn the money, and then you have the lifestyle. Well, why not have the lifestyle during the launch as well? Why not? It's not really you're only compromising maybe the numbers if you're trying stuff, but how much more easier would it be if you were going at 50% rather than burning the midnight oil? And like you say, it's like, if there's one thing I've learned from all the copywriters I've worked with, is that there's no point you get to when you go, we know this works 100%. We know the results this is going to get. It's like you're changing Facebook ads, you're changing emails, times change, angles change, products change. It's like to a large extent, we're throwing stuff up and seeing what it works. We have a good idea. We're more attuned than beginners with a nail gun, that kind of thing. But we're still figuring stuff out. And it's, why not bring a sense of kind of play and fun to something that is uncertain anyway? I'd rather do it that way.
Yeah, 100%. What does a day look like for you now then? Typical day in the life?
I tend to get up about 6 o'clock. I'll do some kind of light journaling or something, or meditation. God, that sounds awful saying that.
I'm waiting for the ice bath to come in.
No, I can't. I'm terrible. I'm terrible at that. No, I should lie and say, the ice bath while meditating and journaling and doing breath holds and all those kind of stuff. No, I tend to get up. One of the best things I've done recently is kind of instigate a kind of shutdown routine at the end of the night, because all my clients have been like in the States, and a lot happens from like 8 p.m. So what I tend to do is kind of, unless I know I'm going to be needed, I'll kind of put blockers on my phone and laptop from like 8, so I can do a hard shutdown, make a list. So the next morning I'm getting up and I'm not in panic mode. It's like, it's fine, I've done everything. There may be fires to put out, but they can wait. So I tend to start work about 8. I've had to instigate a look but don't touch policy for like work messages, because what will happen is that my tendency is to try and put out all fires immediately. And I go, no, take them down, look, see what's going on, and then come back, go for a walk, come back. So I'll go for a walk, come back, and then realize that the things in my head weren't half as bad as they were. And then I'll just crack on. I normally do work like in an hour at a time, set a block and just focus in and do that. But I take a long lunch. I think I kind of copied that from you. I think you do that.
The old siestas. Yeah, definitely a fan of those.
Yeah, I think I'm being productive, but I'm really not. So I'll take a long lunch, and then I'll do some more work before my kid comes home, and then there's normally meetings in the evening, which I can't really avoid with being at USA. And then I just go to that, But the shutdown thing at 8 has been like a really big thing for me.
Yeah, I think it's very easy to let work spill into personal life, which, again, if you're enjoying it, it's maybe not as much of an issue, but that's part of the thing for me working from coffee shops. It's like, I don't actually love going and drinking overpriced, not particularly good coffee, but it's just the physical barrier between home and being out. So aside from work calls, the laptop hardly ever comes out at home, just because I need that space. It's almost like going to an office for me.
Yeah, I like that. I think there's definitely an element. I didn't appreciate that at the start. And at the start, I was like in the lounge in the bedroom, tapping away on the laptop. And that's the one thing with magic. It's like the gig is a gig. It's 2 hours, 7 till 9. You're done. With copy, there's always something I could be checking on. There's always something I could be tweaking. There's something I could be changing around. So I do have to kind of curtail myself to that. And I think definitely having a different space, or a space where I only do copy is a sound idea. Yeah.
So work-wise, career-wise, what's next for you?
I don't know. I still feel quite happy where I am. exciting projects. It's a great team, and it's like loads of opportunities. Like I was saying to you before, I get to go on trips to like the States and stuff, meet some awesome people. I still feel like at the beginning of my copywriting life, really. I suppose there's a danger with things like settling too much, but no, I definitely want to do my own stuff again and bring out the fun side of things. But yeah, I'm really happy with the way things are going now. Love it.
I think it's quite refreshing because I think most people are on the other side of it where they're always looking for what's next and actually not thinking, do you know what, if I look to where I am now a couple of years ago, I'd be ecstatic with how far I've come. And actually like, oh no, that launch could have done better. Oh, I need my own list now. I need a bigger client. It's like, maybe, but also maybe just slow down and go, do you know what, this is pretty cool. I get to work from home in my pants or from a coffee shop. Not in my pants, but yeah.
You don't wear pants in your coffee shop. Unbelievable.
That's why I get such a good discount.
Yeah, I was going to say. There's Samuels again, swinging on by. Yeah, I think that's... I think I sometimes beat myself up going, oh, should I be doing this? Should I be like blazing a trail and like going, tracing a blail? I'll try that instead. Should I be doing that and doing this? And it's like, well, actually, no, I all the work I do, like at the moment, is like I'm involved in hooks, angles, strategy. I'm really valued. It's like there's nothing really more that there's no part of me going, oh, you need to go. There's no part of that at all. It's like I really enjoy it. So yeah,
like it. So best bit of advice you could give to a copywriter who's starting out now, what would that be?
I say focus on stuff and just lean into stuff. Try lots of things and don't be too attached to, this is a process. There is no done. There's no there. There's just like trying stuff and seeing if you want to go the route I did, like appeal to people who are copywriters, I think they value the work ethic and the ideas you've got. Sure, just bring yourself to this. And it's like, I think that's one thing actually. So for when I first got like gigs, I wrote down like 100% every day on a little slip of paper because my tendency is, oh my God, I've got the job. Hide. Make sure nobody discovers you. And I thought, the people I'm working for appreciate the value of ideas, even if they don't use them. They don't want me in the room just to agree with them because they don't need to pay me for their own opinion. So don't be afraid of like putting forth ideas and them getting rejected and stuff like that. Try stuff. It's better to have like too many ideas than not enough. And I think that's the same with a lot of things. It's easier to pare back stuff than try and ramp up something that doesn't exist there. So yeah, try stuff. Be fearless about that and don't be too attached ego-wise to people saying, oh, that doesn't work because of this. It's like everything's an opportunity to show that you'd be good to work with, whether it's because you wrote good copy or because, oh, you took that piece of criticism really well. I'd like to have somebody like you on my team.
I think the ideas thing is big.
Yeah.
I've had that before where sometimes you almost, maybe you've had this where you work with a client and you feel like, I'm not actually doing that much for them. I'm writing maybe a few emails a week and that kind of thing. And I'm sure they're perfectly happy with the work. But I think if you can go that bit extra in terms of helping them out by saying, oh, I thought of this. Have you tried it? Or one of my other clients, I mean, if they're in the same niche, I might not do this. But one of my other clients in a different niche has just switched to doing this and it's working really well. Wondered, would that work for us? Even if you pose it more as questions, I think because again, people at a certain level, and you alluded to this by saying about when you're going after the right type of clients, people at that level, they just appreciate out-of-the-box ideas and different thinking. And so I think even if you have something that's just completely random and weird, just put it across. Like there's very little bad is going to come from that. And actually they might take that idea, make an extra 100K, million quid, dollars, whatever it is, and go, oh, it was John who had that idea. So actually, let's see if John wants some more money from us.
John does want more money. But yeah, you're right. And as well, like, you might not, the idea might be rubbish for now, but great next year when this happens and this. It's like, and it's the right time. It's like, throw it out as early as possible. You don't want to be the one that says, oh, I thought that was going to fail because of this, but I didn't say anything. Great. Thanks so much for that. It's like, I will give you all my ideas as I have them until you tell me to stop. It's fine. You're paying me. It's like, if I see something, I'm going to say, oh, I think we could do this. And they go, no. And you go, okay. But like you say, nothing bad ever comes from that.
Yep.
It's, it's all plus.
Definitely. The one thing I meant to touch on and didn't was...
Too late now.
So going back to kind of transitioning careers and getting into copy.
Yeah.
What were the sort of struggles like? How do you overcome them? Because a lot of copywriters, again, it's like maybe they're making a bit on the side, but they don't want to give up their full-time job yet. What was your experience of going from one career into something completely different?
It was drastically different, like work-wise. The work practices of it was different. It's weird because it's very similar in that it's a kind of a performance, like you're creating something. So it's similar to magic and comedy in that way. It's like you sit down and write comedy and then put it out into the world. I think I did have a lot of imposter syndrome about why would they hire me? Why would they? I have no right going for these jobs. But so one of the jobs I went for, I knew one of the people who was interviewing because she was on the team, and I worked with her in another situation. And she says, when you hear that 200 people have gone for a job, you imagine that 200 A-list copywriters, David Deutsches, have turned up and gone, I'm the one you're competing with. And she told me, she said, some of the people that have gone for this, the job, they just wrote their name on a form and sent it in. And when she replied back saying, do you want to give us any more information? They said, sorry, what job's this for again? And I think sometimes it's handy to remind yourself of that. And again, the thing about delivering good work, show up on time, be decent to work with. These are all things that aren't really a copywriter thing. They're is he a good human thing? Am I going to want to spend 8 hours with this guy? When I'm in a war room writing copy, am I going to want to be with this guy in a room and stuff like that? And it's the same with magic. It's like, do I want this guy at my wedding? It's not about the tricks. It's about, I want this guy entertaining my entire family. And I think that's the same with copy. Again, it comes down to the energy, and it's more, can you be that guy? And I think the bar is really quite low. If you're not a dick, it's like, okay, and you do good work. It's like, just be the kind of person that people want to spend time with.
Yeah.
I think that's more the thing for me. Don't get caught up in the words. It's like, focus on those things.
Yeah, I've certainly spoken to a lot of agency owners, business owners who have said words to the effect of, I would rather have like a decent copywriter who's super easy to work with, on time or even early, like proactive and works with us, than someone who's a very good copywriter, but it's just a pain in the arse, has an ego and turns stuff in late. Because again, relating back to clients, so many clients just want stuff to test. They want to put it out there. It's the idea of speed to market. And that's sort of years ago when I was working with Dan Meredith, we had the whole tagline of solid B copy.
Yeah.
Like, you want an A-lister, that's not us. But with an A-lister, you're going to wait 5 weeks for a sales page. We can get you one done in 3 days.
Yeah.
And it might not be perfect, but do you want 70 grand in the bank now or 100 grand in 5-6 weeks time?
Yeah.
Most of them will take the 70 grand in the bank now because they can reinvest that. They can do whatever with it.
Yeah, and I think that's the thing, that the crappy, ugly pages that I wrote conveyed the fact that I wasn't an expert copywriter. If they want the best copywriter, I'm not the one for them. And I'm okay with that. But that kind of self-awareness, same as you guys, was like, this isn't going to be an A-list copy, but it is going to do this. I have a good grasp of where I am. There's no ego here. I'm going to throw things at you, and you're going to go, maybe not. But we need to shape this like a piece of Play-Doh into something more useful. But that's okay. Yeah. It's like just that level of self-awareness. It's not anything deep and meaningful. It's just like being quite honest.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, love it. Well, thank you for your time today, mate. Really appreciate it. It's been some generally awesome insights for people. So if anyone wants to find out about you or get in touch, what's the best way to contact you?
Probably, although I'm terrible at emailing my list now. If you go to insertgaghere, then .com, that's the place you can find me.
Perfect.
Awesome.
Nice one. Yeah, thank you again, mate. And thank you everyone for watching. I'll also put a link to that down in the description. I'll put a link to some free stuff as well that you can grab it if you haven't done already. Obviously, all the normal things, like the video, subscribe, all that kind of stuff. Any questions, let me know. Otherwise, I will catch you next time round.